we are back again with more Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. Now, if you've been with us up until this point, our first playable character, Mandy, unfortunately was executed by the Camarilla, but we are currently following Lamar, and to update you a little bit, if you weren't here last time, we were instructed by our patron, Sophie, to make some connections. And the last time we were playing, we spoke with the one I have highlighted here, Tamika, a gangrel vampire. And she has partnered up with us, so we now have a partnership with her, but we have 4 others. I can't remember all of their names offhand. Let's see, this gentleman's name is D'Angelo. He is a Nosferatu vampire, which, if you're familiar with the classic film Nosferatu, then that's kind of how these vampires look. I guess he's a detective. Hope is a Malkavian vampire. Now we have an invitation to meet someone at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. We don't know who. And then we have a reason to believe, according to Sophie, that we can go and speak to this fellow whose name is Agathon, and he is a member of the Tremere clan. So let's see, who do I want to go talk to next? Tamika is saying that she has a favor, and that if we're still up for it, we could come and meet her in Prospect. So we can either help her with her favor, or go and meet one of these others. I think it might be important to follow up with her, just because it might cement our partnership a little bit more. So I think we're going to go and talk to her. Once again, you cross the gate of Prospect Park and head straight for where you last saw the feral duo. Minutes pass. Finding no sign of Tamika, you begin to worry that something might have happened to her. Suddenly, you hear a rustling coming from the nearby bushes, and it's not the stray cat kind of rustling either. Whoever's hiding in those bushes, you know I can hear you, right, Tamika? Let's call her by name, sure. Tamika? The rustling stops, if only for a second. Suddenly, the bushes part, and Raoul walks out, desperately trying to look confident. You wish. Listen, I want to have a word before Tam gets here. She seems to like you for whatever strange reason, but the way I see it, you're a nuisance at best. At worst, you're a threat. You'll warm up to me. Is there a point to this speech? You don't like me. Got it. Okay, let's see. Seems like a fair enough response. I get it. You don't like me. Forgive me if I don't lose any sleep over it. Oh geez, I didn't know he was going to tack on that last part. You should be. Because when I don't like someone, I do something about it. And it's usually not pleasant. Tamika is my sister. In every sense of the word that counts. Anything happens to her that I find even remotely your fault, I'm coming after you. Is that clear? Crystal, no, fuck off. I'm not your enemy. She doesn't need a babysitter. I'm not your enemy, or Tamika's. I don't think you understand. I don't give a fuck what you think you are. What I'm saying is, if anything happens to Tamika, I'm holding you accountable. All of a sudden, the sound of footsteps reaches your ears. It's just faint enough to not be ostentatious, but still loud enough to hear. You can tell that whoever's approaching wants to make their presence known. Both you and Raoul turn in time to see Tamika emerge from behind an old sycamore tree. It's hard to tell just how long she's been listening in on your conversation. In any case, she walks up and speaks, addressing no one in particular. Did I miss anything? I was worried about you, your brother being an asshole. Nothing too important. We were just having a chat. Where are you now? She gives Raoul a scornful look, like she's about to rub his nose in his own crap. What about? Nothing. You know where to look for me, Tam. Sure do. And with that, Raoul takes his leave. Tamika waits in silence, just long enough to make sure he can no longer hear her, and addresses you. I have a favor to ask. Okay, what is it? I have an errand to run. I was hoping you'd come with me. There's a place east of here. It's a short walk. We should be back in about 2, maybe 3 hours. We were walking 3 hours, you call that short. 3 hours, huh? You call that a short walk? Sorry, I'm used to much longer distances than that. I forget not everyone is. You think you can handle it? What's this about? Should I expect trouble? Sure, let's go. I'd probably ask if there's going to be any trouble. Sounds kind of shady. Should I expect trouble? You should always expect trouble. But I'm not planning to start any. And so, you head toward the parking lot, accompanied by Tamika and a lot of unanswered questions. Following Tamika's directions, you finally arrive at the Evergreen Cemetery, one of the oldest burying grounds in Brooklyn. You enter through the southwestern gate and follow your companion through the sea of tombstones. It's a nice enough place as far as graveyards go. Much less homogenized than the usual flat field littered with identical markers. Tamika confidently presses on, swerving and weaving along a pre-programmed path. It's clear that she's been here more than a few times. Finally, she makes a sharp left and takes a few more steps down a gravel walkway, coming to a sudden stop in front of a modest headstone. The inscription reads, Luca Santiago, beloved sister and daughter, born 1991, taken from us too soon. With her eyes fixed on the gravesite, she lets out an absent-minded utterance. I need a moment alone. Not long. 5 minutes at most. You look around in search of a good spot to wait for her and pass the time. At the far end of a nearby lawn, you notice a lone bench situated under a weeping willow. Suddenly, you hear voices, distant, but slowly approaching. Judging by the tone and timbre, you're guessing it's a couple of teenagers out to get their late-night kicks among the dearly departed. Might be a good chance to feed. Then again, you could just pass the time walking around the area. It's actually quite nice, in a dark and somber kind of way. We haven't fed yet. But, I mean, there's no one else around, is there? Wait on that bench by the tree. I'll take a walk. We should feed. We haven't fed yet. Take your time. I think I'll go grab myself a drink. Just do it quietly. I don't want any trouble. Not here. You leave Tamika alone and follow the voices. Soon enough, you come upon a couple in their late teens. Judging by the thick eyeliner in their clothes, consisting mostly of black leather and lace, you'd venture a guess that they love nothing more than to meet an actual vampire. You're happy to oblige. As you emerge from the shadows, you can feel your all intensify. The boy and girl watch you, completely awestruck, waiting for you to approach. The slightest gesture is enough to shoo the boy away. He sits on a nearby bench and watches, completely enamored, as your lips press against the girl's neck. It's a weird sensation to feel actual, honest-to-God pride in a victim's blood, but here you are. She's glad to have been chosen in this way. You decide there's no good reason to discriminate, and also take a sip from the guy. His B.O. is pretty terrible, but the taste of his blood isn't half bad. Hoping the teens' post-kiss days will make your face just an impression in their memory, you leave them on the bench, just as they let their excited hormones run wild and start making out furiously. You half expect K-Deer to materialize, sword in hand, to deal with these loose ends, or with you for leaving them to roam like you did. You'll need to be more careful in the future. Oops. Finally, you get back to the tree and find Tamika sitting on the bench. Without a word, you sit next to her. You look over to her, doing your best not to stare. She looks down, crossing her arms and putting her hands on her shoulders. In an instant, the ferocious savage disappears, replaced by a vulnerable young woman. I think I'm done. You feel like sharing? No, but I guess I owe you an explanation. She looks away. You can tell she's struggling to open up to you, so you remain silent, trying not to make her uncomfortable. I was embraced not far from here, in this cemetery, a fitting spot, I suppose. It was close to a decade ago. I'd been on the road for a couple of years at that point, hitchhiking from one town to another. New York was supposed to be just another stop. And then I met Jezebel. She was strong, smart, independent. Seemed like someone I could trust, someone I could get close to. She never made me feel inadequate or ashamed, and she could hold her own in a fist fight too. Funny thing though, she only wanted to meet during nighttime. I didn't think much of it, even came up with excuses for her. Busy, eccentric, whatever worked. Until one night she sank her teeth into my neck. At least you knew your sire, she's still around, she sounds like quite a gal. You keep using the past tense. I take it she's no longer around? She's not dead, if that's what you're asking. At least, not that I know of. She left soon after turning me. I think the Conclave of Prague really shook her up. She left you alone, doesn't justify leaving you. Conclave of Prague. I should probably ask about that. Wait, the Conclave of what now? Prague. It's a city in Central Europe. It was supposed to be neutral ground, a good place to discuss politics and strategy. It ended up almost turning into a civil war. Next thing you know, the anarchs were expunged from the Camarilla. All they had done for our kind, the blood they spilled, it didn't amount to a thing. I can't blame Jezebel for feeling betrayed, but yeah, even though I still had Raoul and Luca, I was still furious and terrified. Luca died a few years later. Operation Lights Out, they called it. It was a coordinated assault by the Second Inquisition, a genocide by any other name. Her family got together, bought up a plot, and buried an empty casket. I guess they wanted some closure. Can't fault them for that. Even though she's not really here, I like to come and visit from time to time. It reminds me of who I am, keeps me in check, keeps the beast at bay. Also, this being the place of my embrace, you have to appreciate that level of irony. She straightens up and looks at you as if something just occurred to her. Sorry, I don't know what came over me. One minute I'm all grunts and stares, the next I'm giving you my biography. I guess I'm just tired of being scared, alone. You don't have to be alone. You're looking for a place to belong. Let's go with you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be alone. I used to think so, but those were simpler times. At this point, I'm just looking for something to believe in, someone I could give a damn about. You have me, the Camarilla has its merits, the Anarchs cherish freedom. Probably Raoul. She doesn't trust us enough. You'll always have Raoul. She smiles sadly. Will I? Don't get me wrong, Raoul is my brother. The bond between us is not easily broken. But he's got ideas and ambitions of his own. He won't always be there to watch my back. I can't expect that of him. You open your mouth, but before you can make a sound, Tamika motions at you to keep quiet. She lifts her head and sniffs at the air. Her ears perk up, and her eyes widen. Suddenly, she pushes you with all of her strength, sending you flying off the bench. Before you even hit the ground, an immense shape flies into view and smashes down into the bench, splintering it into pieces. With the blood surging through your veins, you pounce onto your feet. You look at the massive fur and muscles that just nearly pulverized you. The creature rears its head. The creature rears its head, gives you a deranged stare. It then turns to Tamika. She seems utterly terrified, frozen in place, as if she literally just saw a ghost. You notice the creature shift its weight, as if preparing to pounce. Let's see what happens if we push her out of the way. This is probably supposed to be a werewolf. With your reflexes greatly enhanced, you're able to get over to Tamika and push her out of the monster's way. You both land safely on the grass, while the beast flies through the air and smashes face first into a marble headstone. The creature then turns toward you. For a second or two, it moves its mouth awkwardly as if trying to remember how to form words. Stay out my ground. Oh, maybe not a werewolf. The creature runs off toward a nearby clearing, when all of a sudden, a gunshot sends it tumbling onto the ground. A group of well-armed men in body armor emerge from the shadows in an orderly formation and move in closer around the creature. Walk out to meet them. Stand and fight. This might not necessarily be our business. Not sure what to make of what's happening. You figure it's best to get out of sight. As you start backing away into the nearby bushes, you notice Tamika following your lead. From the relative safety of the thick foliage, you watch in silence as the group of armed men subdue the creature using steel nets and cattle prods. In the corner of your eye, you catch Tamika looking away as if she finds this whole spectacle somehow distasteful. She speaks under her breath, her voice shaking. Can we get out of here? You see no reason to object. The walk back turns out to be quiet and... The walk back turns out to be a quiet and somber experience. You both walk in silence, the city, a blur of lights and cars careening by. You look over to Tamika. She seems lost in her thoughts. Finally, you decide to break the silence. Was that thing back there? Any idea who those guys were? What the hell was that back there? A werewolf? No, If it were, we probably wouldn't be talking right now. Still, in a way that might have been preferable. She rubs her temples, trying to collect her thoughts. Among those of my clan, we tell stories about the Scarred One. Scarred One? What is he? The Scarred One? That's the only name he's known by. He's a cautionary tale for young Gangrel. He's what happens when you let the beast take over. I always figured him to be more of a metaphor. Seeing him in real life, it's like if a Christian just happened to run into Judas Iscariot one day. And seeing him hunted down by the SI, I don't know what to think. I don't even know where to start thinking. Deciding to give her some space, you spend the rest of the walk in silence. Soon enough, the familiar tree line of Prospect Park comes into view. You stop by the entrance nearest to Tamika's haven. She keeps walking without so much as a word or glance in your direction. She stops after several paces and turns back toward you. I'm sorry. Thank you for coming with me, but now I have a lot of shit to figure out. Once I do, I'll let you know. And with that, she disappears among the trees. Seeing no point in sticking around, you take your leave. Alright, according to the gauge in the bottom, it looks like we still have half the night left, and we've done everything we can with Tamika for now, because she's no longer an option, it looks like. Alright, let's see, who do we visit next? We can do Agathon, the invitation we received. I think we should check out the invitation. Faith and Myth, Part 1. Sure, let's do that. You haven't been to a church since you became a vampire. Or kindred, as the euphemism goes. You've had to focus on concrete, practical things like survival and feeding. You've learned the essentials of the vampire experience, but you don't really have a clear idea of what it all means. The Cathedral of St. John the Divine is a New York landmark. You've been inside once before when you were much younger. You marveled at its Gothic facade. Looking at it now from across the street, it feels ominous. The prospect of an anonymous invitation to a secret meeting is a worrying one, but the venue is well chosen. It's hard to imagine a violent attack in a place like this, with eyes everywhere. You enter the cathedral discreetly. You've quickly learned this is an essential skill for a vampire, how to move without anyone noticing you. The full force of the cathedral's architecture hits you as you walk between the pews. If the architect meant to create the feeling of being small in the face of God's glory, mission accomplished. Based on the note, you're assuming that whoever you're meeting is somewhere in the front. As you step closer to the high altar, it feels as if something is dragging at your feet, as if the stone beneath you resisted your movement. Religion is superstition. Vampires are satanic creatures. Does God still listen to you? It's been a long time since you prayed. You wonder whether God still listens to creatures. It's been a long time since you prayed. You wonder whether God listens to creatures like you. Fatalistically, you take a step, then another. You're not sure if your God is present in this cathedral, but perhaps it doesn't matter. What you feel is real enough. There's an old man sitting in the front. You see only the back of his head, bowed down in silent prayer. Your footsteps echo on the floor as he turns to look at you. You can't take your eyes off him. He's tall, dignified, white hair balding, a few strands escaping to the sides. He's wearing glasses and simple clerical clothing. His eyes are warm and pale, Too kind for someone like you. Something is wrong. You feel heavy, as if a giant hand was pressing you down. The skin on your face is burning. Perhaps unconsciously, you expected something like this, as a vampire walking into a cathedral, only it's not the building or God making you feel like you're burning alive. It's the man, the priest. Welcome, my child. The priest's tone is kind, but the rising panic inside is telling you that kindness is not for the likes of you. The man is looking straight into your soul. You turn to run the way you came, stumbling out of the cathedral. You emerge outside, confused and scared. What was that? At least you escaped unharmed. You stand on the sidewalk, confused and scared. No enemies seem to be attacking you. The priest didn't follow you. The night air is wet with the smells of the city, the same as every night. How did it feel? You look at the man speaking to you. He's well dressed, if a little archaic. Dark-haired, handsome, like a character from an old movie. He smiles as if he knows something you don't. You glance around. There are people on the street. You don't appear to be in immediate danger. The fuck are you? Why does it hurt so much? We should probably ask. Why does it hurt so much? That's the question I wanted to talk to you about. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benot Segal. We share many things in common, even if you don't know me. Benoit offers his hand to you. His hands. Well, we just fed. We could probably get away with the ability. Benoit is a vampire. That much is clear. He's using his blood to simulate the functions of a living body, but the rhythm of his heartbeat reveals its artificial nature. Would you mind sitting with me for a moment? Rob points to a park bench nearby, in darkness because of a broken streetlight. Wary, you decide to follow him. Only an enemy totally unconcerned with the masquerade would attack you here. Ross sits down and you follow suit. For a moment, you both contemplate the cathedral in silence. I know how it feels, what you just felt. I have experienced it myself many times. For a moment, you consider how to respond. It's clear Benoit sent the invitation to come here and orchestrated this little setup. Alright, why did you invite me? Did you try to get me killed? I feel like punching you. Let's not punch this guy. I should probably find out why he invited us, though. What's the point? Why did you go through the trouble of getting me here? We share a connection, you and I. I'll explain it later, but right now, the important thing is that it's so much easier to show than to tell. I wanted you to meet Father Anthony, or see him, experience him. Did you wonder why it felt like that? Who's the priest? Is it supernatural power? Is it some kind of supernatural power? No, not at all. I don't think so. It's his faith that makes you feel like that. He's safe in his belief, while you are one of the damned. Do you ever wonder what's the role of a vampire in God's creation? You stop to think. Of course you've wondered what this is all about. Whether it's about God or nature, you don't really know what being a vampire means. That's the trouble with the Masquerade. A human faced with a human problem can go online and find something that helps. You can't. The Masquerade means that everything there is to know about your condition is secret, hidden away. You're left relying on the unreliable opinions of people like Benoit. Lamar takes your hand and presses it against his chest. As he stares into your eyes, you feel his heart stop. My heart no longer beats, yet I move, I talk. Is that how God intended us to be? Whoa, I don't believe in the supernatural. There's a natural explanation for all of this. We just don't know it. Maybe there is. I don't know either. But I know that Father Anthony's faith is real. Sometimes I'm skeptical too. But Father Anthony's presence, I know faith is real. I know it because it hurts so much. But perhaps you have questions about faith and our kind. Perhaps we are divine, not damned. Law laughs, and for the first time the aura of bitterness enveloping him lifts. You're clever. There are many religious cults among the kindred, even more among the anarchs. Some of them do indeed believe we are divine. We die, we rise again, just like Jesus. Be careful with that kind of talk, though. You might not know it, but there are always politics attached to every belief. Go into an Elysium, declare your divinity, and everyone around will start making assumptions about you. Sometimes faith is best kept private, even among our kind. Just ask yourself, when you met Father Anthony, did you feel divine? There's crazy vampire stories. Did you have anything else, or did I come here just to talk about religion? I know it's overwhelming. It was for me when I first met Father Anthony. I know there are others like him, whose faith shines like a beacon. Priests, old ladies, children. Anyone can have that conviction inside them. I have to go. This is too much. Before we talk anymore, I have to pray for guidance. I don't know what to think, and I need help. Juan nods patiently. Let's meet again in a few nights, here in the Cathedral. We can talk more after you've thought it through. We've lost it. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I'm saying this guy's name correctly. We've been lost sitting in the shadow of the Cathedral, contemplating what lies within. It would be easier to ignore his words without the reality of what you experienced. Father Anthony was holy. You know it to be true. But what does that mean? Alright, well now we need to rest, because it's the end of the evening, so now we need to rest. Not long after you wake up tonight, Gregory knocks on the door of your apartment. Hey, I came to pick you up. Miss Langley wants to see you. You know what she needs me for? What if I don't want to see her? Any idea what she needs me for? I'm not in the position to ask. He smiles politely. The car's waiting. Shall we? You wrestle with the same thoughts as a few nights ago. Maybe you should just leave? Disappear? Let Sophie find somebody else to employ? But then you remember the anarch thug being cut down by Kadir and how close you were to the same fate, not even a week ago, and that it might still happen if you step out of line. You follow suit. As with your previous visit here, Sophie seems not entirely present when you enter. Her eyes are locked onto one of the paintings in the room. You're pretty sure it was here earlier, but she's behaving as if she's seeing it for the first time in her life, entirely entranced. Gregory clears his throat. Sophie turns to the both of you, a bit of irritation in her countenance that soon gives way to a pleasant, warm smile. You're here. Excellent. Thank you, Gregory. Her driver leaves as she turns her attention to you. I hope you had a good few nights and made some new acquaintances, but I have to say, I'm happy to see you, Lamar. Thank you for coming. The change in the mood The change in mood of the room is so sudden and startling, it makes you consider the true power of vampiric charisma. Rationally, you know you're being manipulated, but you don't even care. Her eyes, her motions, her entire body language all feel 100% genuine in her, her eyes, her motions, her entire body language all feel 100% genuine in expressing legitimate interest in you and your well-being. I have a request for you this night. I need you to find somebody for me and make a delivery. She points to the statue at the side of the room. You notice a plain-looking flash drive lying on the edge where the inanimate archer's bow touches the pedestal. The man you'll be looking for calls himself Kaiser. He has eyes and ears all over New York, and it's rare for something to happen here without his knowledge. I'll need you to take this flash drive and bring it to him. In exchange, he will give you an address, which I need to know as soon as possible. You're about to ask what's on the drive, but Sophie proves to be one step ahead of you. Oh, don't worry about the contents. They are encrypted, a precaution for if the data falls into the wrong hands. But it won't, correct? She gives you a smile that, just a handful of nights ago, would make you feel like melting. Oh, and Lamar, Kaiser is a Nosferatu, that twisted, deformed lineage of kindred. He is old, and his age has made him even more paranoid than others of his clan tend to be. He holds many havens and changes them often. From what I've gathered, he or one of his servants should be found at the park on Coney Island tonight. You'll have to identify them somehow. I'm told Kaiser has spent many of his nights these past few years being driven around the city in a black limo. Maybe keep an eye out for it. That smile again, but much shorter. Anything more on Kaiser? Why do you need to trade with Kaiser? Why don't you look for Kaiser yourself? Anything more you can tell me about Kaiser? He's been here a long time, about as long as I have. He got into a lot of trouble for exchanging information with both the Anarchs and the Camarilla in the past, but ultimately got off scot-free. Kaiser's web of information proved to be strong enough to shield him from the consequence of playing both sides. Some say that's the best proof of his abilities. In any case, be careful when talking to him. He's very particular about everyone's etiquette except his own. Good night, and good luck. She flashes one last smile at you and turns back to the painting, clearly done with the conversation. You pocket the flash drive and head out toward Coney Island. It takes you the better part of an hour to reach the lights and sounds of Coney Island amusement park from the city. The drive is almost pleasant this time of night. Thank God for Belt Parkway. There are plenty of people here tonight, but nobody who stands out as a traveling purveyor of secrets. Then again, if they did stand out, it would be kind of pointless, right? Nothing to do but figure out the right approach. Ask around for Kaiser, search for signs of Kaiser, let's look. There are plenty of nooks and crannies to investigate around here, but if Kaiser frequents this area, there has to be some kind of clue to grab onto, right? You spend a good hour snooping around, eyes peeled for the black limo Sophie mentioned, or any sign that a Nosferatu, or any vampire, has their haven around these parts. Zilch. Annoyed, you turn back toward the lights of the amusement park, only to find a man standing in your way. Wearing an oversized jacket, he has the air of a junkie or dealer about him. Who knows what he's got in those pockets? You lost? Nah, I'm not lost, just taking in the sights. Sure you are. He looks at you intently, like he's trying to guess your real purpose here. Get out of here before I kick your ass. Sure, man, whatever you say. Just need to tell me if you know a guy named Kaiser and I'll be on my way. Nah, don't know who that is. He's a terrible liar, clearly full of shit. Listen, I was sent here by Sophie Langley. She has something for Kaiser. I need to contact him and hand it over. Nothing more to it. Don't know her. And I told you already, I don't know who Kaiser is either. He sees the doubt in your face. Fuck it. Stay right there. He produces his phone. It's a fancy model. Doesn't look like anything readily available on the market. Unlocks it. Dials a number. 2 tones go by. A voice on the other end. Sorry to bother you again, boss. Yeah, I know how much you need your alone time. That sounds very nice. There's somebody here who wants to see you. They're with Langley? Sophie Langley, yeah. A string of loud obscenities fill the phone. The man winces and pushes it away from his ear, and then the call stops. Almost immediately, a chime. The Count's laugh from Sesame Street? Wow. Announces a new message sent to the phone. He's, on his way. Don't go anywhere. Not 15 minutes pass before a black limo stops near where you're waiting. One door opens an invitation. The inside of the limo used to be a luxury lounge, the kind with a stripper pole and a bar full of alcohol, but it currently has none of that. Instead, there are monitors and consoles. There are dozens of displays, each one showing something different. Surveillance camera footage, stock market quotes, television news, emails, tweets, silent movies, lo-fi footage of a gory torture session. You wonder if the limo's owner can focus on anything while surrounded by all of this visual noise, and then realize there's nobody there. Or is there? A man blinks into existence on a leather-covered couch, attempting to maintain something that approximates a regal presence. You're 100% sure it's Kaiser. Surrounded by dimly lit computer screens, his features are even more ghastly than you imagined. All sharp angles of twisted bone, mangled flesh, and crooked teeth. He bears them in an awful parody of a smile. The doors close behind you. So, the waste of good blood outside tells me Sophie Langley sent you, huh? You've got something for me? You reluctantly pull the flash drive from your pocket and slowly pass it to Kaiser. He plugs it into a USB port on the arm of his chair and displays the data on one of the screens that happens to be turned away from you. It takes him about a minute to access the data. Who do you people think I am? I saw this footage a week ago. He removes the flash drive and throws it back at you in disgust. Tell Sophie the deal's off. She wants her address, she can give me something else. We can try. You take on the most persuasive voice and amicable stance you can in what basically constitutes the lair of a megalomaniacal monster. Oh gosh, I can't talk straight. Megalomaniacal monster. Come on, man, don't send me back empty-handed. Take the data and honor the deal. It'd mean a lot to me. The sound the Nosferatu produces is supposed to be laughter, you think. You're pretty sure he'll fall over and die at any second if he's anything other than that. Ooh, look at me, I'm so pretty and well-spoken. I'm gonna feed you this bullshit and you're gonna cram it in and ask for seconds. Who the fuck do you think you are? You know what I should do to you for trying to pull that trick on me? I should mutilate your face and rub sulfur in the wounds. Rip your tongue out and use it to stuff a fucking turkey. Only see, I'm in a gracious mood tonight. Plus I hate turkeys, they disgust me. So, I'm going to give you a chance to make this little transgression up to me. I'll contact you. Maybe I'll even throw in that stupid address to Langley. Maybe I'll even throw in that stupid address so Langley can shove it up her cunt. But right now, unless you want me to get really pissed off, you'll show yourself out. You're pretty sure you're done here. You get out, close the door behind you. and the car immediately starts backing up. The opaque windows slide past you, and soon the limo is on its way. Kaiser's lackey is nowhere to be seen, so you make your way to your car and drive back, wondering what tomorrow brings. Well, that didn't exactly go as well as I expected. Well, let's see. We've got 4 potential connections. We can go and talk to this guy, Agathon. We can go talk to Hope. We can talk to D'Angelo. And we have something else from Tamika. I think we should forge a new partnership with someone else. Let's talk to Hope. It's a quiet, moody internet cafe. Half of its space serves as a comfy coffee bar these days, but behind a glass wall, it still has a space dedicated to rows of PCs. From the street, you can notice tired adults in casual clothes typing away absent-mindedly, and some bored kids wasting the late evening hours on colorful online games. If Sophie's intel is to be believed, this is where Hope has set up her haven. One of the waiters is standing outside the building, gazing at the sky with a smartphone in one hand and a vape pen in the other. You approach the man and tell him... If I told you I was supposed to meet Hope here, what would you say to me? I'd probably tell you I'm surprised. People are usually more discreet about seeing her. The man slowly takes a drag from his e-cig, sizing you up and down in silence. After a long, awkward moment, he raises his voice again. Come, right this way. He heads back to the cafe, and you follow his lead. When you make your way through the space with computers... Whoop, excuse me. Sorry, guys. When you make your way through the space with computers, no one averts their gaze from the spreadsheets, emails, Facebook profiles, or games of Fortnite. It's a common sight, one you wouldn't have paid much attention to a few weeks ago, but now it seems to be unnervingly quaint. Would they still be spending their time like this if they were immortal? The waiter unlocks an unassuming door at the end of the room and lets you inside. You two swiftly make your way through a labyrinth of sterile gray corridors, taking confusing twists and turns. Feels like you're traveling into a different world, crossing one invisible portal after another. Eventually, you reach your destination. Your guide motions you to enter a dark room with a lone source of pale light, a computer screen in the distance beckoning you to come closer. As you do, you hear the doors shutting behind your back, and a short chuckle echoing behind it. Is this the place? Nothing else to do but sit on a chair in front of the computer. The monitor displays a modern chat application. A cursor is blinking in the user nickname entry field in the middle of the screen, obviously expecting you to input your handle. After a brief consideration, you type in random string of characters. Keep it random. After QWERTY turns out to have been taken by someone else, you settle on QWERTY UI up. It works. After a few seconds, the chat window opens, and messages start appearing on the screen in quick succession. Hostage... Oh, whoa. Jesus Christ. That's a lot of chat messages. Oh, we won't read all that. The chat goes silent. Everyone's seemingly waiting for you to say something before proceeding. This must be a close-knit group. Better say something before they kick you out. Looking for Hope. Is she here? Vulgar, who the fuck are you? This was meant to be a safe channel. Oh wow. I don't think they're happy. Calm down. Oh, got the info, nice. Oh, wow. Jesus Christ. Well, they are not happy with us, that's for sure. Sardo sentenced to death for a shitty basic online handle. I'm literally on my way to kill you right now. Yeah, sorry for you're about to die. Rest in peace, bitch. You're getting your throat slit right here, right now. A split second after you read the message, you feel someone's arms tightening around your neck. The violent return to reality catches you off guard. A jolt of panic rushes through your brain, paralyzing you momentarily. You've come to the wrong chat room, motherfucker. A ridiculous whisper rings out next to your ear, and the grip under your head gets even tighter. Uh-oh. You start struggling, but even with your newfound supernatural strength, you're having trouble breaking out. This isn't a normal human you're dealing with. Last words. Sophie sent me here. Langley? The hand holding your chin shifts its position slightly. Don't struggle, or I will break your windpipe. Or my phone, which would end even worse for you. Sounds of a camera shutter and light flashing. Did they just take some selfies with you? Alright, that's enough fun. I'm letting you go. We can have a talk. Don't do anything stupid, Mr. Intruder. Pretty please. The mysterious assailant loosens their grip on you and gently pushes you away. You quickly turn to take a good look at them. Let me just finish this. It's a pale, blonde woman in her 20s, giving you slightly judgmental looks while rapidly tapping away at her phone screen. First, you notice her outrageous outfit, seemingly thrown together from random thrift store finds. Then you take note of her tattoos, a sprawling tapestry of odd patterns and designs covering every visible part of her body. At first glance, it all seems aimless, but it has a consistent sense of style upon closer inspection. Her eyes focus on you for a second. Gave you a scare, huh? Sorry, that's what you get for entering a lady's haven without her permission. And she's back to her phone. With her relatively small build, it's hard to believe you had trouble overpowering her physically. But then again, nothing is what it seems when it comes to the undead, and even compared to the vampires you met so far, she comes off as an eccentric, curious presence. She shoots you another glance, noticing you're still cautious of her. Calm yourself, man. I won't pull anything like this anymore. It was just I feel stupid saying it out loud, a vibe check. Vibe check? Yeah, I got a glimpse of your vibe on the internet, and in a dangerous situation. I'd say I've got a pretty good idea about who you really are. I'm Hope, by the way. If you're here, you've probably heard of me, so I went ahead and skipped the pleasantries. But come to think of it, I might have skipped too many of those. Yeah, she definitely fits the description you were given by Sophie. Anyway, don't worry about the chat. It was all a game to us. No hard feelings, okay? I'll introduce you properly later. On the monitor, the chat continues normally. Your visit is like yesterday's news, no longer relevant to anything. But, look, if we're going to talk about you, you should have something to say too. What are you doing here? About time, she asked. Note to self, she really loves the sound of her own voice. Sure. Let's tell her we're building a coterie, that makes sense. I'm looking for people to join my coterie. Coterie? Been there, done that, not interested. Unless... She takes a closer look at you. Her eyes go wide. Wait. Shit. Are you the new Langley plaything? Word seems to be getting around fast. Of course you are. It was obvious the second Langley got her hands on a new servant, she'd start building a network. Your emissions tell me that could really come in handy when... Langley, that's a risky game. This kind of ambition attracts too much attention. Piss off. Then again, fucking Kara. She seems to be having a spirited argument with herself, only parts of it audible. Is it just you, or do her facial expressions and body language change a bit between one sentence and the other? Before you make certain it's not just your eyes playing tricks on you, she focuses half of her attention back on you. The other half, of course, is still obsessed with her smartphone. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not interested in a cooperation, but before I make a decision, I need to make sure you sort of understand me, and that I sort of understand you. And since I was planning to put on a show before you came here, I propose a little game. Hope absent-mindedly spins her phone in her hand, considering how to put her thoughts into words. Then she approaches a switch on the wall and flicks it. Neon lights flare up, illuminating the room. You take a look around. The room is certainly unique. It looks like a butcher's room, repurposed to be a living space. The modern computer in front of you starkly contrasts the ominous industrial walls. At the back, there's an overwrought bed covered in velvet, with meat hooks hanging above it. On top of the bed sheets, you notice what seems to be pieces of elaborate S&M equipment and a camera. Oh goodness, what is going on? Wait a minute. You want my help? Moderate my cam show. Cam show? Your eyebrows twitch involuntarily. This is definitely not the kind of request you expected to hear tonight. She notices your confusion. Take it or leave it, buddy. You just became a kindred, but you want to become my partner in crime? Show me you can handle yourself while watching my back in my everyday environment. She's serious. The show starts in 10 minutes. If you think yourself better than this, better walk out the door right now. I won't hold a grudge. I've got better things to do. As if to prove it, she looks at something displayed on her phone and cracks a brief grin. Another reply typed down with absurd speed. Tap, 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 tap. 9 minutes. It's now or never. Show moderator. Risk of violating the Masquerade? High. Content warnings? Oh yes. So, do you take the job? Shit. Well, I guess it depends on how keen on keeping the Masquerade we are. She's definitely more of a rebel. Why the hell not? Why the hell not? Hope brightens up, and her smile looks surprisingly serene, or sincere. Excellent. I promise you might find this interesting in more ways than one. Alright, give me a sec. She spends a minute setting up the computer you used before, then urges you to sit down. The explanation of the moderator's functionalities is simple. It boils down to ignoring anyone who doesn't disrupt the chat, banning anyone who does, and kicking anyone who's causing minor trouble. 5 minutes later, she's already online, sitting on her bed in a provocative pose. It is a sex show, isn't it? Her voice, previously hushed, rings out with full force. How are you doing tonight, hopefuls? You peek at the chat. We're not worthy, queen. Fucking A. Angel. Hell yeah, time to fuck. Ignore. You're tempted to try out the kick and ban prompts as soon as possible, but obviously you won't punish someone for a little dirty talk. Thank you. Tonight's show is quite special. Please welcome our new moderator, Courtney UIOP. Oh. Sorry for sentencing you to death earlier. At least the community here seems to be a bit more welcoming this time. Looks like this place has an established hazing ritual, or maybe they and Hope came up with one specifically for you, who knows. You've decided to stay silent. Eventually, people stop rifling on you and focus entirely on the star of the show. Alright, let's start this one with a bang, shall we? So this is where the strip show starts. You raise your head, curious about what kind of performance she's going for. First, she opens her mouth and reveals her retractable fangs in front of the camera. Right off the bat, the online audience is treated to a sight of her wholly human set of teeth turning into a monster's maw. The image is both revolting and fascinating. She raises her left wrist for everyone to see, and then bites. The fangs immediately turn her arm into a horrifying, gory mess. It's unclear if she used them to slash or bite, but one thing is for sure, no ordinary human could cause such damage. If an ordinary human suffered such a wound, you'd expect a geyser of blood to appear too, but it doesn't. Hope's technically a corpse, so it's impossible. She flashes a monstrous smile and starts smearing vitae all over her hand to maximize the impact of the violent image. Then she starts drinking it up. She makes it a point to make the sight as gruesome as possible, looking like a hyena feasting on a corpse. The contrast of her behavior with her look of an Instagram model is stunning. Once she's done, she reveals her wrist to the camera for the last time. She starts making theatrical gestures with her right hand as the wound begins to mend. Shortly after, the wound is gone. It's like a magician's trick. Her left hand looks like nothing bad ever happened to it. Here's an appetizer. First blood to kick off the show. While you're wondering what the hell is going on, Hope catches a glimpse of your bewildered face and turns into your direction. How's that for an opening? This isn't a sex show? Sex? What, were you counting on me getting naked in front of you or something? Oh, honey, we've just met each other. If you expected a strip show, yeah, sorry to disappoint. This is more like a live-streamed digital art. The erotic subtext is there, of course. You peek at the chat. They're going wild. But eroticism is not the key here. It's vampirism. It's a new frontier, a living art installation. In the early 90s, the Japanese artists kept producing these videotapes of beautiful women committing gory harakiri. Those are an inspiration. She bares her fangs again in a devious grin. But I've no interest in auto-destruction or turning myself into a victim. This is a celebration of a body I love, not self-inflicted punishment. The audience came here to marvel at a beautiful vampire and her awe-inspiring powers. Mending wounds is just one of these powers. The people watching can pay to see more. Oh, and don't worry, the only things the audience can see and hear are the things I allow them to. We can talk freely. Just remember to moderate the chat, will you? High risk of violating the Masquerade. What a joke, she's blatantly breaching it in front of anonymous viewers. Still speechless, you turn your attention to the screen. Pay for the pink marshmallow. let the guy vent his excitement. Seems harmless. A special message appears in the chat log, claiming somebody has successfully sponsored the first goal of the show. Hope smiles and picks up a bag of blood from underneath the bed. It must have been retrieved from a blood bank. She showcases the label to the camera for everyone to see. Uh-oh. Gotta drink it. Hell. Hope pours the contents of the bag into her throat. You have no doubt it's real blood, but wonder why the viewers would be so satisfied with something that's so easy to fake. Don't worry, it pays well enough. You don't even bother to tell her this is not what you're thinking about. Safe to assume she knows. So, what do you know about the Kindred and the internet? Have they told you anything? While she's waiting for someone to sponsor her next vampiric feat, she decides to start a conversation. Is there a vampire internet? If you find something that looks like vampire internet, stay away. See, some of us used to experiment with our own secure networks. We tried to build our own information hubs, social networks, everything. She's still working the phone in one hand while looking for something under the bed with the other. On how many things can she concentrate at one time exactly? Then one day, the NSA got in. Turns out elders never really got the hang of proper security practices, or the sigils they used to smear on their screens didn't exactly work as advertised. Then, of course, all the other three-lettered intelligence agencies in the world got the intel, and a lot of them decided bloodsuckers were the perfect new enemies for our post-9/11 times. The Second Inquisition came into being. Ever heard of it? A lot of our kind died just because they were too present online. Right now, the remains of our old networks serve as government honeypots, kept alive to attract fledglings and hunt them down. You post a certain keyword on Twitter or Facebook, you get tagged for investigation. You fit certain patterns, you get tagged for investigation. So there's a certain thrill in becoming an online presence without attracting attention from the authorities. She stretches on the bed. I hope you are still monitoring the chat. Of course not. You're not as good at dividing your attention as she is. You correct your mistake and check the recent messages. Just trouble. You get rid of them permanently. Good job. She's keeping close tabs on you. Anyway, yeah. When the Nosferatu admitted to Camarilla, their networks got compromised. The Elders went batshit insane. Internet communication became strictly forbidden. There were executions. A lot of people who used social media to secretly contact their mortal families and lovers got offed. That goes without saying. But if you weren't careful, even the most innocent web usage could result in being punished with final death. Thanks to user Dick Steele, the next goal has just gotten successfully funded. Let's go, Vanishing Act. Wow. She raises her hand. 3 fingers up, 2 fingers up, 1 finger up. The countdown ends and she immediately disappears from the screen. Like a ghost. You can still see her on the bed, but the live feed indicates there's nobody there. When you deeply focus on the digital image, you swear you can make out some unusual glitching where her silhouette should be, but it could very well just be placebo. You ready for this? 3, 2, 1. A flash of the camera. A flash of the camera. The instant she reappears on the screen, she takes a selfie, sticking her tongue out in a provocative manner. The chat room explodes in cheers again. She is their vampire queen. You briefly wonder about her being glued to the screen. Is this the fantasy everyone is here for? A girl showing off cheap magic tricks while lazily browsing her social media? You realize you're way out of your depth here. Meanwhile, Hope decides to continue her lecture. Those were some wild times, especially in New York. While most of them have no clue as to our real nature, a lot of clandestine organizations have classified us as national threats. And since this is where the towers fell, the agencies are very much present around here, looking for easy PR victories. The last SI raid here was just a few years ago, and it was a big one. Stirred up the hornet's nest something fierce. But although it's 2019, NYC is ruled by someone who just got embraced before the World War fucking II. Oh, excuse me. But although it's 2019, NYC is ruled by someone who got embraced before World War fucking II, and the cam as a whole got really spooked and swore off the internet. Of course, they're not dumb and understand that you can't really coexist with modern kind without the internet. It's a gray zone right now, like piracy, technically frowned upon, but let the one without sin cast the first stone. The SI is a real threat, no joke, but in many senses, the darkest place is right under the candle. You take another look at the screen. We want blood. Wow. A familiar nickname pops up. The hell's that guy doing? Give the guy a kick for spamming the chat. The message is deleted so fast, Hope might not have even noticed. A duty carried out well. You're surprised to feel an inkling of pride. Oh yeah, fun fact about being a vampire. We can sweat and pee if we just exert ourselves really hard. Some of us can even orgasm. We can even cry, but only tears of blood. It's something I always dreamed of doing when I was 14. So romantic, and it drives them crazy. As proof of her words, a scarlet tear starts running down her face. The chat goes wild. This seems to be exactly the kind of thing they've been waiting for. Oh, God. Ban. Just to be clear, you realize what we're doing here is a blatant breach of the Masquerade, right? I honestly expected you to leave or inform somebody by now, but you haven't, have you? You try to focus on the chat. A familiar nickname is displayed on the screen. Oh my God, this guy again? Ban. Looks like Mr. Masochist needs a longer break. After you ban him, you hear Hope's voice. Good job handling that guy. Great. If nothing else works out, it seems like you fit this job at the very least. In any case, the last goal has just been funded. It's time for the great finale. This is what you've all been waiting for, right? Her voice has changed. She gets closer to the camera, letting her face fill the frame of the live feed. Her mesmerizing eyes are focused purely on the viewers. You wanted blood? Come out into the streets. Claw at your neighbors' throats, slash their veins, and drink up. Hope's presence becomes absolutely horrifying, and it influences the chat in some incomprehensible way. Everyone starts typing like they are possessed. Liberate yourselves from the shackles of ordinary mortality. Make them scream. Feel the warmth of their entrails. The hell is she doing to those people? What have you gotten yourself into? Transcend your bodies. Release the message of hope into the world. She jerks violently for a second and then falls down onto the bed like a marionette that had just had its strings severed. She exhales loudly a few times and laughs. When she does, the room goes dark again. Alright, that's enough. Instead of continuing, she does something with her phone. The stream ends, and the chat instantly becomes dead quiet. Let me take over. The atmosphere in the room has completely changed. She's already put herself together and stood up. Now she's walking towards you. At Vulgar. What the fuck just happened? Guess the show is over. Everyone relax and go home. Aw, and I was almost ready to come, bros. Hostage, I swear on my father's grave, one day I will find you and kick the ever-living shit out of you. After every line she delivers, she changes her voice, the way she puts her lips together, and even the way she moves. You've caught glimpses of her acting this way, but only now have you started to figure it out. What the hell just happened? I'm immortal, I'm bored, I'm separated from most vampires in the city by a generational chasm, and I'm so goddamn lonely, the internet used to be my only friend. Info dump delivery service. Years ago I started researching toolbuzz, collective unconscious, all the mumbo-jumbo at the intersection of psychology and spirituality, and I decided to experiment. The show was fake. A few years later, I was an Instagram fashionista, a successful erotic model, a vital part of pop culture commentariat, a viral shitposter, a cryptocurrency expert. All of my internet cells started signal boosting each other, paving the way for new ones. I became a one-woman empire, surrounded by legions of psycho fans. The chat was fake. Some may think of it as dissociative identity disorder, but that's bullshit. Everyone has online alter egos they buried. I just resurrected them, gave birth to new ones, and let them crossbreed. Her constant tapping at the phone, even during the show. Somehow, she is capable of impersonating an entire chat room. Literally a perfect angel, I don't even have a self that could dissociate or be mentally ill. I'm a host, a living database. I live because I find it fun to be an information conduit, to process trends and support the ones I deem worthy. There was no Masquerade violation. She was showing off her skills all along. She put you into a world of pure fiction, the same way she was testing you when she attacked you from the back. Damn, she's good at this. Monk David Chapman, of course you can just ignore what I'm saying and decide I'm just another deranged Malkavian. But hey, annihilation of the self is the only way to survive in the 21st century. If there ever was an era that demanded images of beautiful people transcending beyond humanity and inspiring others to do the same, it's this one. Although for now, because of Masquerade, my audience is quite limited. Speaking of, you want to be the star of my next movie? Need some time to mull it over? Sure. No, sorry to disappoint. But yeah, your test is over. Now the question is, do I want to work with you? She puts away her phone for the first time since you met her and gives you a good hard look. Yes, I can give it a shot, yeah. You're not that dumb. You're not that boring. And you're kind of cute. Don't worry, no more modeling jobs. Mods get attached, and that's always bad news. She grabs your arm and starts leading you out of her room. I've put you through enough shit. Next time I'll let you in on a little job I'm doing. We'll hit the streets and you'll see why Sophie told you to contact me. She leads you through a labyrinth of gray corridors. It's a different route than the one you made your way through in. The city is so much more than what its elite consider real. Stick with me and I'll guide you to places Camarilla elders couldn't reach in 100 years. She leads you out of the building into the back alleys. Even if someone else rules the streets, we will rule the information highways. This is the power of hope. She lets out a theatrical laugh and disappears. You don't even notice when she leaves you alone, but you assume everything went as well as it could. A new ally. The power of hope. As you walk into the night, everything around you feels a little less tangible than it did a few hours ago. Alright, well, it looks like it's rest time again. We're going to end the stream here for today, you guys. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.